Hello, my name is Miss Moses LeBeau, but you can just call me Mo. That's what everyone here in Tupelo Landing calls me. Let me first tell you the story of how I came to Tupelo Landing and ended up with the name Moses. You see, I was born the night of a hurricane, they say. It was raining so hard that night that the town I lived in was flooded. They say my mama wrapped me in her gown and set me in a billboard to float up the river to safety. That's when the colonel found me. He, too, came to town that night. He was driving in the hurricane. No one really knows why, but he crashed and found me. This is when Miss Lana found us. The colonel, holding me tight, passed out. The colonel didn't remember a thing. Anyways, enough about me. Let's get back to the important stuff. It was Wednesday, the 3rd of June, when Mr. Starr, a detective from Winston-Salem, came into the caf. He said he was in town trying to solve a homicide, that some of the clues had led him this way. Said something about a man named Andrew Dolph, was shot in the head. He passed the photo around the caf, but no one had ever seen him. Just a few nights later, Mr. Jesse was found dead in a boat near the bridge in town. That's when the Desperado detectives started. Me and my best friend Dale was on a mission to clear Dale's name and find the murderer. I didn't tell you this earlier, but the same day Mr. Jesse was found dead was the same day that Dale was returning the boat that he borrowed without permission from Mr. Jesse. Of course, my sworn enemy, Anna Celeste Simpson, said she saw a boy lurking around Mr. Jesse's that night, and of course she knew it was Dale. But luckily she didn't say his name. Knowing Anna Celeste, she was going to hold this over us for as long as she could. Unfortunately, Mr. Starr already figured out that the boy was Dale hanging around Mr. Jesse's house that night. He said he believed that he didn't do it, but wanted the murderer to think that he thought it was Dale, so he would start getting sloppy. Dale's mom, Rose, agreed as long as Dale had protection. Well, after that, we saw a bald man follow us around everywhere. He was kind of creepy. The next day, Dale and I went to the festival to set up a booth to raise money for Lavender's car. Lavender is Dale's older brother. He doesn't know it yet, but I'm going to marry Lavender one day. That day, we made enough money to fix up Lavender's car so he could go to the big race. This is the moment he kissed me on the cheek. I'd never been so happy in my life. I ran home to tell Miss Lana. When I busted through the door, the living room was a mess, and Miss Lana was gone. The detective made Dale look at a list of wanted people on the computer to see if any of them he might have already seen. Dale clicks through to find pictures of a man he thought was Dale's bodyguard. Mr. Starr said, "No, this is a man wanted for robbery, Slate." That's when we realized he was the one that kidnapped Miss Lana and maybe the colonel too. Not too long after that, Slate called asking for a ransom, $500,000. Mr. Starr asked if I knew if the colonel had any money. I didn't know anything. A few days went by and the phone rang and I picked it up, hoping it was Slate. I told him I'd give him $500,000. I lied, but to my surprise, it was the colonel. He was cutting in and out. He said he was free, was going back for Miss Lana, and to get to the house to get something for him, and to trust no one. I ran out, told Dale, and we snuck away from Mr. Starr's partner, Deputy Marla. I ran home and found a folder that Colonel was talking about. It had all the information about Slate in it. Not soon as me and Dale were about to leave, Deputy Marla was in the doorway. Was acting very strange, wouldn't let us through. Then she started talking about how we were messing up the crime scene, and she gripped my arm so tight it hurt. That's when I realized she was working with Slate this whole time, and that's how he was always one step ahead of us. We somehow got away from her and knocked her out and tied her up. We ran to Miss Rose's and told her everything that happened. That's when Mr. McMondale's drunken father came to the door. He is a mean man, but tonight he was mean as they get, talking about how if I didn't watch it, I would end up like my stepmother, tied up. Then he started threatening Dale and his mother. Right when things were about to get ugly, the colonel walked in and saved the day. We got it out of Mr. Mackin where Miss Lana was. So the colonel, Dale, and I went to Mr. Jesse's property looking for Miss Lana, but all we found was Slate pulling up floorboards in Mr. Jesse's house. Colonel took him down and asked him where Miss Lana was. He said he didn't know, but that she had gotten away, which you could tell she did put up a fight because he had a huge cut on his head and hand. The colonel asked one more time, "Where's Miss Lana?" And Slate once again said, "I don't know." But then the voice from the door said, "I do." It was Detective Starr and Miss Lana.